So today I'm going to be showing you my top 5 methods for making pipes in Blender. This could be anything from making building pipes, furniture, pretty much anything you can think of. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the most common one. It's probably the smartest one. It's just obviously splines, right? So to get started, you're going to go to curve. You can start any kind of curve really. I just go with path most of the time. You rotate it how you want it. And I know there are other ways of doing this, which I will be showing in the video. This is such a basic way to do it. Make paths however you want in the shape of your pipe, however you want them to be. So say this is what I wanted. And then you just go here, go to geometry, and then you just go to bevel and change the depth however you want it to be. And then you've got this. So since it is a spline, now that you have the shape you want, you can convert it to a mesh by right-clicking, going to convert to, and then converting it to a mesh, and then you'll have all of these vertices that you can play around with. So say I wanted to go here and just, extrude right there, see, make it more pipe-like. So that's the first method of making a pipe, arguably the most simple one, probably the most versatile. You're going to be using splines a lot. And the next method is actually very similar. So what you're going to do is just start with, say, a plane, any kind of other object. What you're going to do is get rid of all of the other vertices. And so what I'm going to do is just press Shift S and do selection to cursor to move it to the center. And now I'm going to go into edit mode, and then you just want to extrude it. And this is arguably easier than splines. It's not as versatile. Of course, you're can't edit it as much, you can't change it as much. There's less customization in it after you reach a certain point, especially. But see, you can just make whatever shape you want. Then what you're going to do is select all your corners. See here, I only have corners really, so I'm just going to select everything. And then you're going to hit Ctrl Shift B to bevel the vertices. You can bevel them however you want, really. It's up to you. This is fine for what I'm trying to do. So to make this into a pipe, there are multiple things you can do, but what I would personally do is I would turn it into a curve and then do the same steps we did with the first one. And see, it still works here. And you can just turn it back into a mesh and then smooth it. Works exactly the same as the last one, except this time you're using vertices. So you have a little more control over how it works, especially with your curves and your bevels. I know there are other ways to actually curve it around and make it pipe shaped, but this is what I would personally do. Of course, you can do whatever you want. Now, the next method I have is going to teach a pretty important key, in my opinion. You can use it for anything as rails, pretty much anything that has a corner and a mesh without using splines. This is the easiest way to go. So rather than starting with a spline or a single shape, I'm going to start with a cylinder. And from here, you can do whatever you want, make it as long as you want, just change its shape, and then click on one vertice that you want, and then press Shift S, cursor to selected, and that will move your 3D cursor to this vertice that you have selected right here, and then you're going to select the face you wish to rotate. Come right here to the spin tool, and then select whichever X, Y, Z, anything you want. So I'm personally going to do X, because that is the direction that would make this rotate around this corner. And then you just drag it, and here, come down here, you can press this little drop down right here, and you can select any settings you want. So I want a perfect angle at 90 degrees, and that'll set it to 90. Let's say a little less steps than that. See, that's fine. And you can even come down here, see, set the Z. That'll set it higher. For Y, this is going to set it further. It could always change depending on what axis you're building on, but it should normally be Y. And you can set it as far as you want, and then you can also bring it down, and this will create an easy pipe shape, and then you can just repeat the same steps over and over again. So I'll come up here, cursor to selected, spin tool once more, and then just drag it up again, perfect 90 degrees, and then I'll bring it out a little bit, and then I'll just extrude it, and then you can keep going from there. So whatever kind of pipe shape you want, you just keep doing this. The more complicated ways I will talk about in this video as well, but this is probably the easiest way to do that in particular. Now, the next way is probably the least viable way, at least in terms of the ones I've shown. You're not going to get great results from it, but it is usable for other objects in Blender. So it's not just limited to pipes. This is used for anything. I've used this to make swords. I've used it to make guns, for anything. So this is just an example to show you this function. So just start with a cylinder, and then you're you're going to want to click up here to set your viewport to whatever is the side. I'm gonna extrude first just to set like a base point. Go a little bit above wherever you want to click, and then control right click, and that will rotate it to where your cursor is set. So it creates some issues if you do not have proper setup with the extrusions, but you can always go in and fix those. See, like right there. And look, that still looks like a pipe. You can definitely use this, and if you really want to, you can smooth this out by going S to scale and Y and then setting it to 0, and there we go, now it's smooth. But this typically I would use for different kinds of shapes. For cubes, if you want to have a edge, but you can also use it for cartoonish shapes. So if you want more of like a pipe like this, where it's like kind of cartoonish, you know, a little bit more jagged, more than actually smoothed out, it will work pretty well. This is probably the best way to get a shape that is not uniform. So like I just showed you right there. Of course, you can always go in, add loop cuts, move stuff around, change it. So that is another method to make pretty much any shape you want. I just wanted to show off that way of making shapes. So the last method is probably the most advanced, except for using geometry nodes. I'm not going to be showing geometry nodes in this video. The next method is by using arrays. So this is going to be the longest part of the video, arguably, for good reason. This is the more advanced part. I wanted to save this for last because I know a lot of people coming in here are coming in for a simple way of making pipes. But this is if you already have a mesh set up. So real quick, I'll make a mesh and then I'll show you how to use it with arrays. This is what we'll be using. So to make this into a pipe, you're going to use the same method with paths. For this, I'm actually going to use the vertices method, probably simpler to set up. You can use whichever way you want. I'm just going to be using this to make my path setup. So say this is the path I wanted for my pipes. I'm then going to go do the same steps we did before. Control Shift B. I'm going to put however much beveling I want in that. I'm going to obviously convert this to a curve. And here in my shape or my mesh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an array modifier. And now it's just going to be here for now. Set it to whichever follows the path. And now the next modifier you're going to need is the curve modifier. So I'm going to go to curve object and select this spline we made. And now it's going to get weird for a second. Click on all of these until you find one that works. And it seems like Z is the one that works, even though it's being kind of weirdly shaped right there. I guess that's just a factor of the current spline. But then from there, you can simply turn up your count, and there you go. There you go. You have a pipe that follows your path with your setup mesh. And now what you can do from here is you can, of course, go into your curve. You can change it and edit it to whatever you want. So this is arguably the best method. Like this is just the best method to make pipes. You can change it to whatever you want. You can change them however you want. There may be some issues, like the resolution isn't always there. See, with these edges over here. But the way to fix that would just be to go in here and add some more vertices. Yeah, see, it'll make it more curved. So just beware of that. It'll look weird depending on how many vertices you have. And there you go. You have a pipe that follows along the path with a mesh that was predetermined. So rather than having to make the mesh after and having all of it not be uniform, you can make the mesh beforehand and have everything be the same. This is the best pipe making method. And I can make a longer in-depth tutorial on how to make a specific pipe if you'd like. Pipes with valves, pipes with all the parts, everything. This is just to show you different methods of making a pipe. These aren't specifically for pipes. You can use these for anything, really. Anything that you see can fit, this will work. That is all for today. I'll make more tutorials soon. I hope you enjoy this one. If you did, let me know in the comments. Subscribe, like. See you guys.